I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 31 of Tales from Godric's Hollow, the most famous Harry Potter podcast to not have any sort of representation at the Harry Potter celebration this weekend. Unfortunately, yet here we are, still recording, wishing we were there. Seemed like a fun weekend. I am one of your co-hosts. I am the muggle of the show, Josh Brown. Tonight, as always, I am joined by the man who refuses to give me any inside information that I am so desperately seeking, Matt Sonnenberg.
Good evening, Josh.
Hi, Matt.
How you doing?
Well, it's been a week. It's been quite a week in the world of Harry Potter.
It has been. Yeah.
I have essentially banned myself from social media for the weekend.
That's probably a good idea.
To avoid Harry Potter celebration shenanigans, because there was bound to be some things that I shouldn't have seen.
It's true.
Yeah.
There are some very questionable pictures.
So once I saw the celebration starting to go off and everything like that, I was like, well, I'm just going to leave this conversation forever because I'm not a part of this yet.
But speaking of which, there is someone that we kind of know who was down there.
Sorta. Yeah.
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 Did you caught that?
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
I don't like to talk about him or her too much on this show because it's kind of an inside joke on one of your other shows. But
right. There is a rogue Twitter account out there who has been making jokes of things on other shows of mine, and sometimes at my expense, sometimes at my co-host's expenses, who seems to be or was at possibly the Harry Potter celebration. Now, I don't even know if we know for sure they were there this weekend, Matt. Those pictures could have been taken at any point.
No. There were a few pictures that were definitely from this weekend. I guarantee that.
Definitely missed those. I saw ones from today, and I was like, well, that's normal.
There were a couple with their special guests there.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure those pictures are from this weekend.
Okay.
Now, our friend here obviously would be clever enough to get pictures from someone else and use them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I have a sneaking suspicion that our friend is actually a big Potter fan.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
we've gotten some Harry Potter references from them before, so
it's true.
Thankfully, the trolling has not reached maximum capacity here at Tales from Godric's Hollow. But now that we're calling them out, we just opened the floodgates, I'm afraid.
Well, I'm pretty sure they did already tweet directly at you. So
yeah, but I mean, they're going to start getting into the email box and the polls and the
Sure.
You know, it's downward from here, Matt. Like,
fair enough.
We peaked as a podcast, and now it's just downhill from here because it's on. It's going to be on. The celebration seems, from what I saw at the beginning stages, like it was going to be a fun weekend. Again, I did not partake even virtually because it worried me. Friday though, I did see some announcements before things start getting rough and wild down there, the Wizarding World. Saw the new Lego Dimensions Hermione figure with Buckbeak.
Yep.
I already knew Buckbeak was going to be part of this pack here.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Hermione. Now, apparently there's some controversy over the clothing choice for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know nothing about that. Like, people are saying she should be in robes, and I'm like, that's the only way I know Hermione, so sure. But
yeah, they dressed her, I think, from what she wears for part of Deathly Hallows, like
Okay.
book 7.
Okay.
So it's another outfit people know,
Sure.
and there will be more outfits throughout the series that they could have chosen.
Right.
But yeah, the vast majority of the time she's in her robes.
Sure.
So it would have seemed to make more sense to put her in her robes, but
here we are.
Yeah.
Now the Buckbeak thing, though, Matt.
Yeah.
It was nice seeing a look at Buckbeak. Really clever how they made him a Lego figure.
It's true.
Nice build on him. But it is only making me more curious about the legend of Buckbeak, and the chapters we read for tonight's episode did not help me at all to understand why Buckbeak is such a special character of this story.
It's true.
Or was. Past tense. I don't know. Nothing about these 2 chapters tonight, Matt, did anything to progress the Buckbeak storyline. And that upset me because I want to know. I want to know what's going on. Is this like paying homage to the once beloved Buckbeak that the kids only briefly knew? Did they just struggle to figure out something else to include with the Hermione, so Buckbeak seemed like a logical choice? Could they not figure out how to turn the dragon that's on top of the bank into a Lego figure? I don't know. Or does Buckbeak... did Buckbeak not meet his demise and is still around and plays an important part of this story and possibly the story going forward? I don't know, Matt. But I know that I am upset that I don't know because I'm going to have to wait a week, and that's just insulting. And especially seeing the Lego figure, like, it got me all excited. Like, I want to know, I want to experience the magic that is Buckbeak, but I don't even know why it's magical or if it is. So
Yep.
That happened.
Another week to wait and see what happens, if anything.
Boy, oh boy. Not even a hint. Not even a clue. Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing at all.
Nope.
Just a punch in the gut from J.K. Rowling, if you ask me. Also, the other announcement that I did see, and I'm sure there were others, some of which you may or may not be able to tell me about. I don't know. But they're adding on to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando. Did you see that?
Maybe?
They are adding a Forbidden Forest.
Oh no. Are they adding one to Orlando?
Yes.
Are you sure? I saw that they just added it to the studio tour over in England.
I'm pretty sure it's Orlando, but you might want to fact check me on that.
Okay.
Now that you say that, maybe that sounds familiar.
That would be awesome if they added it to Orlando as well.
But I'm pretty sure it was Orlando, and I was like, man, if only Hollywood had that kind of room to expand.
Yeah.
You might want to fact check me, Matt. I again, I was just in this whirl of excitement and fear of seeing something I wasn't supposed to see. So I was like in and out very quickly. If that makes sense.
What I'm seeing here, at least, just initially, is just all the articles saying it's coming to the Warner Brothers studio tour in London.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll make this stuff up then.
I think they timed the announcement to line up with the Harry Potter celebration in Orlando. But
maybe I was making that connection.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, they're adding it to the studio tour.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Sorry, folks. Sorry for getting you all excited and worked up, but...
Well, unless, of course, you're over in London. And
That's true. Our UK friends are celebrating and rejoicing, so good on them.
Got to make it over there.
Yep. That was my takeaway from the HP Celebration weekend, Matt. Is there anything specific that caught your eye or interest?
Not too much. I've never really paid that close of attention to it in past years.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of wondering what kind of special guests they've had in the past. Because I found this year's lineup to be kind of odd.
Okay.
Like it's an odd group. There are 4 main people that were there. So Tom Felton, who plays Draco.
Okay.
Jason Isaacs, who plays his father. Matthew Lewis, who plays Neville.
Okay.
And Warwick Davis, who he plays everybody. So he was the main goblin in the bank the first time we went there.
Okay.
He is Professor Flitwick. He is he's at least one other character. I think maybe 2 more. But yeah. So I mean, are you familiar with Warwick Davis?
I saw his face and like he looked familiar.
Yeah.
I'm
Like
sure I've seen him in things, but
I mean, the first place I think I ever remember seeing him was back in the 80s in Willow.
yes. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, he's done Star Wars and all that stuff, and he obviously then, due to his stature, gets to play a lot of these characters.
Sure.
So
yeah, takes advantage of the situation. Why not?
Yeah, the way they were described, it's like, well, you fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And he can obviously change his personality enough to fit all the parts.
Yeah, that's the other thing is you got to be a good actor to.
Yep.
Huh. All right. Well, we haven't seen much of Professor Flitwick in the first 2 movies, right?
You've seen him once when they're learning to float the feathers.
Okay. Yeah. Not for very much then.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, it's obviously not the trio. They didn't show up. I'm pretty sure some of them have in the past.
Yeah.
But this year, not so much. And so it's like, I just don't know how they come across this certain group. Like, they don't necessarily interact together. It's just they were all in the movie at one point or another.
Sure. Fair enough. There's one other big takeaway from the weekend, Matt.
Yes.
That you completely forgot about.
What's that?
And I'm shocked and somewhat appalled that you decided not to speak on it. I threw up the softball, Matt, and you didn't hit it out of the park.
Sorry to disappoint.
We got the official release date of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them on Blu-ray, and I couldn't be happier.
It's true.
I mean, I'm not happy about waiting 2 months. Let's just put that out there. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Did you see that Amazon bundle they have?
Yeah.
With the Niffler statue?
Yep.
Oh, that's so going on my shelf, Matt.
Yep.
I need that Niffler in my house big time. It's so good. I can't wait for that movie, Matt. I can't wait. I'm going to watch that movie on a weekly rotation.
Because you can.
Because I can't. You can't stop me, Matt. I'm going to watch it so much. I'm going to start developing theories about, like, Newt's former love that you said may be important to a future story that I don't know about yet, and I'm going to dissect that so much.
I believe it.
I'm not going to get anything from it, but I'm going to watch it until I do.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's exciting. March 28th. Fantastic Beasts, Where to Find Them.
Very true.
I think it's available for video on demand March 3rd or something for
really
anybody that's not into the physical media. But come on, get a Niffler statue with it. Yeah, buddy.
Yep.
Take that any day. Well, that's really all I got, Matt, from Harry Potter Celebration. The important stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. One of these years, you'll be able to celebrate it along with us.
Oh, hopefully sooner than later, but probably not. Speaking of Muggle theories, Matt, I put up Muggle theories number 2 this weekend, or this week.
Also very true.
Last week for Patreon subscribers, and then earlier today for everybody else on the podcast feed. So we are going to break that down as we dive into chapters 19 and 20 of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So if you have not listened to Muggle Theories number 2, aptly named Crookshanks, and you're interested in what my theories were before reading these 2 chapters, go take a listen to it. It's like 12 minutes long or something like that. So
Yep.
Nice, short, easy listen. It's on the feed now. So I highly suggest doing that if you're so inclined. But yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that prediction that happened. That theory.
I'm sure we will.
That was something, wasn't it?
It was. I not at all where I expected you to go.
I think I might have overthought it just a little bit.
Maybe.
But we'll talk about it.
But speaking of Patreon, I do want to bring that up and give a quick shout out to everybody who has pledged so far. We got a bunch of new patrons this week. And just if you're listening to this episode right away, you're probably going to have maybe 24 hours to get your pledges in for this month if you're interested. So keep that in mind. Head over there right away, patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. We are dangerously close to hitting our second goal over there, which is for another giveaway. So more stuff for you guys.
Yep. More goals we hit, more things we give away to you guys, the community. So that's a cool thing.
Yep.
Especially the ideas that we have in mind for giveaways. Like, they're going to start getting really cool and fun.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of things in mind, but
definitely. Yeah. Also, cheap plug, really quick. Speaking of giveaways, at the end of the show, I'm going to announce a new giveaway that we're going to have. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be not a timed based thing, so you don't need to be the first person to listen to this episode or anything like that. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be community building. It's going to be creative, and it's going to be like something you haven't participated in before. So stick around for that at the end of the show. If you're the kind of folk to forego the email section or anything like that, I highly recommend sticking around.
Sounds good. You got me intrigued.
Yeah, I haven't even told you about it.
Yeah, I have no idea where you're going with this. So.
I got surprises up my sleeve, Matt.
Awesome.
With that being said, though, I think it's time that we finally tackle the elephant in the room. Chapters 19 and chapters 20 of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Book 3. Almost at the end, but not quite.
Almost.
Close. The end is near, Matt. I see the finish line, and it's several arm lengths away at this point.
So we have chapter 19, The Servant of Lord Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we get towards the end of the book, we just don't have new characters. So we'll just jump right in.
Yeah. You say that, but nothing about J.K. Rowling surprises me anymore. And even if it's not like a new character, it would not surprise me one bit to bring up a character that has been lightly glossed over or mentioned very early on in the book to the point where we forgot that they existed.
Sure.
Right at the end, just as like that final little twist because she could do that. So, going into these chapters, yes, there's nobody new to cover, but I'm not saying that we're never going to cover new people at the end of these books. I'm not going to go on that limb for you, Matt, because I don't trust her.
Okay.
She's sneaky. Devious. Boy, these 2 chapters were a wallop.
Yeah. They may be short, but they pack a punch.
Oh, boy, do they ever. Now, they answered some questions.
Yes.
They created some more questions.
A few, yeah, but they answer a lot of questions.
They do. It's just, I'm concerned that we have 2 chapters left, and there is still so much to find out, Matt. And we'll talk about that at the end of these 2 chapters, but I'm not convinced that everything is going to wrap up in a nice little bow tie like I hope it is.
Okay.
I just don't believe it. Okay, so Snape.
Yes.
Absolutely incapable of listening to reason in any shape whatsoever.
Yes. Snape is completely irrational. He thinks he knows it all, thinks he knows best,
Yeah.
and just will not listen to anything anyone has to say, whether it's a student or another teacher or colleague or whatever.
Right.
It's just out the window. It's like, nope, here we go. Snape's way.
Yeah. He, like you said, very irrational. He's very passionate about what he's trying to prove or prove to be true.
Yeah, he's not a very one-track mind type of guy, and things are his way in his head, and no one's going to convince him otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just gonna keep driving straight.
Right.
Doesn't matter if the road turned half a mile back. He's driving straight.
Yeah. He was getting kind of ugly. He was getting kind of aggressive.
Yep.
He kind of had it coming, when the trio kind of packed a punch on him. I was surprised to see that happen from them.
Yeah,
and I think they
definitely
were equally surprised that it happened.
Well, it's almost more surprising that like one of the adults didn't do something sooner.
Right. Well, yeah. I didn't think anybody really expected them to actually lash out and take him down.
Yeah.
There was an instant moment of realization that, oh my God, we just attacked a teacher. Like, this is not good. Of all the things that we've done over the last 3 years, this is probably the worst by far.
And now where's Lockhart with those memory charms when he
Yeah,
knew?
no kidding. So yeah, I mean, Snape was kind of like, asking for it. I totally will say that. However, and this feels weird for me to possibly come to his defense a little bit, because I don't really want to. I'm not sold on coming to Snape's defense here, but the way he was acting and the way he was refusing to listen to logic and explanation and just thought that he knew everything that was going on was eerily similar to how Harry Potter was acting towards Sirius Black. Like, he didn't want to accept the fact that Sirius wasn't the one that killed his parents, and like, no matter what he was saying or Lupin was saying, or like he was, granted, they were able to reason with him before it came to like an explosive, conclusion, but he was just as stubborn as Snape was being with him,
It's true.
because in his head, he already knew what happened.
Yeah, he heard the story before. He knew how it went, and now someone was trying to convince him otherwise. Like, no, this is how it went. This is why you were in jail, and this is like he knew how it went. He had all the facts that he needed. Right. Which turns out the facts that were actually the facts, like no one knew, or like two people knew, and one of them was in hiding and one was in jail. So But the facts that he knew, he had heard from people that he trusted to be reliable with facts. Yeah, and that's where we get into the problem here. Like, Lupin even thought Sirius was guilty.
Right.
Like, he didn't have enough facts, and so if he was ever talking to someone about it, well, that he was going to tell him what he thought was the truth, and turns out it wasn't.
Yeah. But it was like, like Snape got punished, for his stubbornness. But like, when you really look at it, like, Harry was like just as bullish as Snape was. Thankfully, his feeble 13-year-old mind was able to be talked off of a ledge and rationed with a little bit. But like, it kind of shows his maturity a little bit, but. At the same time, like, that rage and that passion that Snape had for what was going on was that same rage and passion that Harry had for what he assumed was the truth. So,
Well, and you see where Harry's rage came in again. It's the exact same spot we've seen it before, when it has to do with his parents.
Yep, absolutely.
In particular, his father.
Yeah.
But his parents in general.
Right.
Anytime they're brought up, like he's going to defend them to the death.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like you said, it's a good thing that they talked him down. But
yeah. So I have a question.
Sure.
And maybe you can't answer it. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm just assuming something and we don't really know the answer to it. But was Cornelius Fudge aware of the reason for Sirius Black escaping? And like, we know that Fudge tried to protect Harry, right?
Yeah.
Early on, when
Yep.
he shipped him off to the Leaky Cauldron and whatnot. Made sure he was all good. But he's the one that gave Sirius Black the newspaper clipping in the cell.
And not a clipping. He just gave him the whole paper.
The whole paper? Okay.
Yeah.
Was that intentional? Was he trying to...
No.
Like, did he...
No.
Okay. It was just he gave him the paper type of thing?
Coincidence, yeah. If you go back to that section, Sirius asks him if he's done with it, and says something to the effect of he misses doing the crossword or something like that. And that Fudge actually comments that it seemed really odd to him how calm and how normal he seemed.
Okay. I think I blacked that part out because I was thinking about what Azkaban actually looked like.
Yeah.
And why Fudge was just walking around.
Yeah, Fudge walking around visiting is kind of a weird thing to think about, too.
Like, I feel like he has better things to do, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, yeah, Fudge is, as you'll get to learn more and more, I don't feel bad telling you this, but he's kind of an idiot.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, he not intentional at all, no.
Sure, okay. I guess maybe I just, in the way I was picturing it happen, was like he specifically gave him the photo knowing that Scabbers was Peter, and like knew Sirius would see him, and that would ultimately lead to Sirius leave. And so then I was like, well, Fudge is pretty tight with Dumbledore. Like, why wouldn't he have just told Dumbledore what was up, and Dumbledore wouldn't have been so afraid of Sirius Black and the Dementors and everything like all of this could have been avoided if Fudge had just like come out in the open about what was going on, at least with like Dumbledore, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no. Fudge didn't know any of this stuff.
Okay, all right. Well, I feel better about that then, because I was getting kind of mad that like all this had to take place if Fudge knew what was going on the entire time. Like, no, let's just skip to it here, Fudge. Okay, so we find out. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I don't want to talk about this, Matt, but I think we kind of have to. But I'm still gonna be stubborn about this.
Okay.
Crookshanks.
Yes.
According to Sirius Black, is just a freaking cat.
Even calls him the most intelligent of his kind I've ever met.
Right.
Yep.
I don't buy it. And, okay, so my Mogul theory.
Yes.
That we had cooking.
Yes.
I concocted this explanation in my head for Crookshanks. To where Crookshanks was actually a boggart in disguise.
Yes.
Because, of course, that's what a rat, a.k.a. Scabbers, would be most afraid of. And every time we saw the rat around, we saw Crookshanks around, and vice versa. According to Sirius Black, Crookshanks is just a freaking cat.
Yeah.
Lupin didn't seem to argue with him about it. And I feel like Lupin would know a boggart if he saw one.
It's very true.
I feel like there's just one last swerve coming with Crookshanks, Matt.
Well, I mean, I will give you that Scabbers was around a good deal of the time that Crookshanks was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see where you're coming from. I think it's still unlikely that it would hold that shape when there were so many other people around.
Right.
But I do see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem, the two biggest problems I have with it are, one, when it was at the pet shop before Hermione bought it, it wasn't like this cat came out of nowhere and the owner was like, oh, sure, I'll sell that to you. It was, no, this cat's been here for a while and no one wanted it.
Yeah, but like, if you had a chance to make some money, like, you would say anything had been there for a while. Like, this random cat shows up and you're like, yeah, that's totally for sale, of course. You've never seen the cat before in his life, but he's like, yeah, I'll make some cash on this cat.
Sure. So an unscrupulous merchant.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But then the other time is when Harry saw Crookshanks out walking with the dog by the forest.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, it was just the two of them. Like, Scabbers wouldn't have been around and no one else was really close. Like, if anything, it should have been what the dog was most afraid of.
Maybe dogs are afraid of cats too.
They didn't seem to be too afraid.
No, that's true. My explanation for that was Scabbers was out in the yard somewhere.
Sure.
And Crookshanks was hunting him down.
Yeah. But the fact that we couldn't see him and the dog was right there, like, it's hard to say.
I know.
It still works.
It was a long shot, but I was dead set on explaining the presence of Crookshanks.
I appreciated it because I didn't know where you're going to take that when I saw the title. I'm like, okay, this is going to be good.
Well, you even challenged me on last week's episode to name a character who I thought might be transforming into Crookshanks.
Sure.
And I hit a wall because I'm like, I don't know who it would be at this point, unless it's somebody we don't know or have barely talked about.
Yeah.
So
I applaud the effort.
Again, there's 2 chapters left, Matt, and while Sirius Black seems to think that Crookshanks is just a cat, and a really smart one at that, there's still a sliver of hope that something is going to come out of the Crookshanks mystery.
You know, all our other animals have already changed form. Don't you think Crookshanks would have by now?
You would think so, unless it's a sneaky cat. Peter went 12 years without transforming.
It's true.
So, I don't know.
And even then he was only when he was forced.
Yeah. It seemed weird that Black had to go the extra mile to kind of explain that it was just a cat and a smart one, I don't know. It almost felt like that was written just to throw me off the scent, I don't know how many other people reading this book actually thought about Crookshanks being somebody else in form. Did you have that thought when you were reading it the first time?
The first time?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Okay. You weren't thinking that much about it. See, and that's where I get hung up. Is the Sirius Black explanation for Crookshanks only seems to be necessary for people that are skeptical that Crookshanks is just a cat. Other than that, what's the point of putting it in the book? It doesn't further the story at all or explain anything, other than being a smart cat. And at that point, if you're just assuming it's a cat anyway, then yeah, it's probably, pretty intelligent to be, chasing Peter, aka Scabbers, around.
Well, okay, I'm just going to put this out there now.
Yeah.
The comment is there because of what JK had in mind. I know this isn't going to make a lot of sense to you right now,
I don't know what that means.
but so you can keep going on your Crookshanks theory if you want, but Crookshanks, I guess you could say, is more than just a cat, but not in the way you're thinking.
That doesn't help me at all, Matt.
Yeah,
That
and
confuses
and
me
it's
even
not
more so.
it's not something we really learned too much about in the books, but J.K. has expanded on it
Oh my
since.
god. Are you telling me I'm not even going to get an answer to this at the end of this book? Are you honestly telling me that right now? Because I'm about to quit the podcast.
Yeah, probably not the answer you're looking for.
Oh. Am I going to... I just want a definitive answer. Like Sirius Black mentioning it this one time, I don't feel is the definitive answer I'm looking for.
Sure.
I just... Goodness gracious, Matt. I don't...
We'll try to take your mind off it.
Yeah, we need to. Because I'm all wrapped up in Crookshanks here.
But before we go too far from Crookshanks,
Mm-hmm.
can we just recognize everything he did to help Sirius?
Yeah. Pretty darn brave cat.
Yeah, Crookshanks is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, Crookshanks can not only sniff out an animagus, so, like, he knew that Sirius was the dog. He knew that Peter was the rat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is why he was talking, more or less, or communicating with Sirius, and why he kept chasing the rat.
Right.
That rat specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, he tried to bring the rat to Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
I think after, like, Sirius probably communicated in some form or fashion that that's what he was looking for.
Right.
And then, on top of it all, Crookshanks was the one that stole passwords from Neville. Neville didn't lose them. They were stolen.
Yeah.
But
I
not
wonder if that gets
directly...
back to Neville. Like, does Neville know that he's not in trouble anymore for this? I hope so.
Hey, tell McGonagall that.
Yeah. Somebody needs to.
He didn't lose them. The cat stole them.
I mean, granted, he probably shouldn't have just been leaving the passwords written on a piece of paper.
Well, yeah, he shouldn't have them all written down. No.
Yeah. But he definitely didn't just randomly drop it, so...
No. Yeah.
Crookshanks. The bane of my existence, Matt.
Sorry to hear that.
I wish... I guess I'm just obsessed over Crookshanks this entire book to the point where I don't even know if I could fully appreciate Crookshanks as just a cat anymore. Like, it's just...
Sure.
No matter how many great things Crookshanks did in this book, like, I'm still hung up on the deception that is the Crookshanks myth, and that's my own fault.
Yeah.
I swung for the fences, and foul ball, Matt, foul ball.
It's all right. I'm sure it'll hit a few.
Okay, so going back to the story, there's this... Okay, Snape's knocked out.
Yes.
Ron is still struggling with a broken leg. Hermione's freaking out because they possibly just killed Snape. Harry is emotionally conflicted about everything going on. Crookshanks is trying to calm Sirius Black. Sirius Black is, like, on edge, ready to kill a rat. Lupin is trying to be the rational one here. The rat, Scabbers, is just going bonkers. This whole scene is just insanity all the way around.
Absolutely.
Lupin and Sirius Black are doing their best to explain the situation, to prove that Scabbers is actually Peter Pettigrew. Other than the fact that Ron is a dumb 13-year-old boy, I cannot understand why he was so hesitant to just be like, fine, prove it. You know, let's do this. Like, other than, like, he didn't want to know the truth and he didn't want to be wrong, like, that would be, like, a weird thing to have, like, your family pet be this creepy old guy that, you know, possibly did some really horrible things.
Yes. I think that's part of it, and part of just like it really does seem far fetched. It's like the tale they tell. It like all the pieces do slowly fit into place, but it's just so out there. And who would actually believe that? Yeah, the pet I've had for 12 years, like that, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
It might partly be that he doesn't want to believe it, but I think it is a really hard story to believe, especially when you've been told differently your entire life about Sirius Black in particular. And now here Sirius Black is telling you that your pet that you've had for 12 years that you've slept with is instead this mass murderer.
Yeah. But like, wouldn't you want to know the answer? Like, instead of like holding this rat that's freaking out and, like, wouldn't you trust Lupin a little bit to...
More than anything, I think Ron's in shock.
Yeah. I mean, he does have a broken leg, so maybe I should give him credit.
I would attribute it to being in shock.
Yeah.
Between all this, the stories flying around, and like you said, yeah, he just broke his leg and then tried to walk on it.
Sure. Yeah, so Peter Pettigrew allegedly is the murderer, the killer of the 13 people that Sirius Black went to Azkaban for.
Yep.
Sirius Black did not kill anybody. He was trying... Now, this got a little cloudy for me. He was trying to protect Lily and James.
Yeah.
Right, essentially.
Yeah. So Sirius was originally Secret Keeper.
Yes.
Now he transferred that to Peter.
Right.
In the hope that he was essentially bluffing Voldemort.
Right.
What he didn't know is that Peter was already essentially kind of working for Voldemort. Mm-hmm. Like he had no problem just, ooh, I have the secret now, let's go tell him.
Right.
The best description I saw in this chapter was Peter likes big friends.
Yeah.
And so during school, that's why he followed James and Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
They were the big guys on campus.
Right.
And then when he got the opportunity, well, who's bigger than that?
Yeah.
Voldemort. You don't get much bigger than that.
Sure.
So it's like, oh,
upgrade.
Yep. I have something you want. Let's be friends.
Yep. So, kind of, I feel better about the Sirius Black situation. Like, none of it, like, in hindsight, it all seemed almost too straightforward and obvious.
Sure.
Like, this whole elaborate story of Sirius Black killing the Potters and all that, like, everybody told the same story that now looking back, it's like, well, yeah, of course he didn't do it. Like, there's more to it than meets the eye. Like, we need to have his version of the story. Like,
but I mean, going back to it, like, we've gotten these big stories that everybody tells the same way before, just even the same night, just from Voldemort's perspective or Harry's perspective. Like, we've gotten these details of that night when Harry's parents died and what happened to Voldemort and that he lost his power and he ran away. And this is a story that everybody knew, everybody told.
Right.
And so it wasn't that uncommon. It's not, now we're just expanding, and it's like, okay, what happened like a couple hours before Voldemort went there?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Sirius Black.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying there were, like, any sort of real hints or anything about the truth of it, but it was too straightforward and it made too much sense.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from, especially now that you're on book 3 and you're looking for these sort of things. And there have already been a few twists, I guess you could say, and they just keep coming, especially in this chapter. But the fact that Sirius did not do it, yeah, I mean that's a major thing,
Right.
especially when you consider the title of the book. It's like the Prisoner of Azkaban, who shouldn't have been a prisoner of Azkaban.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just we were immediate, like in the first chapter, I think it was, like immediately made to feel like he was a bad guy.
Absolutely.
You know, he was a wanted man.
Everyone thought he was.
Yeah.
Like we just said before, even Lupin thought he was bad.
Right.
He had been friends with him in school.
Yeah.
They were in the group. They were the Marauders.
Right.
But then Lupin honestly thought that he did this and thought he should be in Azkaban and was ready to probably kill him if he ever saw him.
Right.
Until he saw Pettigrew.
Yes. But at the same time, again, this is all hindsight, like looking back at it now. The dude was able to escape from Azkaban, which nobody has ever been able to do, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So either he is like the most powerful of the wizards out there, or he had a trick up his sleeve, which we're going to get to in a second. But if he was able to escape from a place that nobody has ever done and nobody should ever be able to do, and his real intention was to kill Harry Potter, as everybody assumed, don't you think he would have got the job done pretty quickly? Like, if he was in Hogwarts at some point, I don't feel like there was that much protecting Harry Potter to where he couldn't have just got the job done.
Well, yeah, and that's where we kind of run into a couple things. One, you're saying unless he was like the most powerful.
Right.
Well, in theory, some people thought he was kind of the second most. They thought he was Voldemort's essentially right-hand man at one point.
Right.
Obviously, that didn't turn out to be true.
Sure.
But that's what people thought. So if he's going to escape, it's like, okay, maybe Voldemort taught him something. Who knows? Voldemort lost his power, so I guess that would make him the most powerful. Getting back into Hogwarts, once again, we have Dumbledore, who even Voldemort fears.
Yeah.
So I think the next man down is going to fear him as well. But like you said, once he got into the castle, like Ron woke up and found him standing there. That was the big conundrum. It's like, why didn't he just try to kill him? Why didn't he try to kill Ron? Why didn't he try to kill Harry?
Could have made it quick, done.
Yes.
Nobody would have been the wiser.
I think that right there, that night when he did make it in the castle and Ron saw him, I think that was the biggest turning point into, wait, why didn't he just kill these kids? He's killed before.
Yeah.
Why? And I think that if anything, is where you start to question things.
Right.
You don't necessarily understand why you're questioning things or what the alternative answer is, but
yeah.
Like
it almost felt like villains in every action movie that once they capture the protagonist and then they decide to hold them hostage or put them in like some sort of holding cell or something instead of just instantly killing them and getting it done. Like,
or if they start monologuing.
Yeah, they always give them the opportunity to live on and prosper, to break out somehow, to save the day. Like, there's never just that, I've got you, now you're dead. You know? Yeah. And that's kind of what this started to feel like, was like, he's competent enough to go this entire way and get into Hogwarts and be there next to him in his room while he's sleeping, but then like he doesn't do anything? Like, is it his ego of like, I could do this anytime I want type of thing? Like, was it a power
just proving
thing?
A point?
Yeah, or was it like maybe he's not there to actually do that? So it could have gone multiple ways. I do really enjoy the explanation as to how he got out of Azkaban, because I think it helped me personally understand the prison system more than they've really explained up until this point.
Sure.
The whole, the Dementors suck out happy thoughts and that's what they feed off of. But because he knew he was innocent, like he wasn't, he had no happy thoughts. He was just, hell-bent on getting out and being a free man, righting a wrong, essentially.
Yeah.
And then, like, the whole transformation into a dog thing, because Dementors feed off of, like, human emotions, they kind of just were like, oh, this weird, creepy dog is, where this guy used to be, so we're just gonna...
Well, that's the thing. They don't even know that it's really a dog because they can't really see.
Right.
They just kind of sense things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, there's no happy thoughts here, no emotion. He must be dying. Let's move on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fascinating. Like, being able to, like... You would think, like, with these transformations, they would still have, like, the full mental capacity of... the person that they were. And it seems like they do have some semblance of it. But it also kind of made it seem like mentally they reduce it down a few notches, then, their brain would be firing off as if they were in their human form.
Yeah.
So, like, they go back to just kind of like their animal instincts at that point. They still have the personality, per se, of the person they were, but he wasn't like a dog fully thinking as Sirius Black.
Yeah, not so much. It's kind of a weird mix of dog and human brains. Like you could probably compare it to some like comic strip dogs or something, where they're dogs, but they always seem to have a bit more personality than a normal dog would.
Right.
I think that's probably the best way of looking at it.
Like Milo and Otis, like you could hear them talking, but they're still like going on like animal adventures, like they're still animals at the root of it all.
Yeah.
Just with a little personality and flair to it. I mean, speaking of personality and flair, he admitted that while he was just kind of roaming the grounds for the last, almost school year, essentially, it sounded like, one of the things he liked to do was like hang out and watch Quidditch matches.
Sure.
Because he was so impressed by Harry and like how comparable he was to his father, riding a broom and everything like that. I don't think he's given enough credit to Lee Jordan here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lee Jordan was the catalyst for turning Sirius Black into a gigantic Quidditch fan. So much so where he would just like hang out in the fringe of the forest and watch Quidditch matches in dog form.
Well, I think part of the reason is like the entire school comes out to see these Quidditch matches.
Yeah.
And so there's no one else roaming the grounds, and so he has a little more freedom then. At
Sure.
that point, he can kind of come out and watch. Like the one time that Harry sees him, I think he might even see him in the stands. If I'd have to go back and look that up again.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't. Maybe I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do to find it again.
Yeah,
but
not important. Regardless, again, I don't think Lee Jordan's getting him in his proper credit here for attracting even the quote unquote worst of the worst here. Even though he wasn't the worst of the worst, but still, a hardened criminal, Matt. Sort of. Okay, so another thing that was really bugging me.
Yeah.
Lupin is pretty mild-mannered.
Yes.
Not too aggressive. Like, he's more defensive than aggressive. I mean,
sure.
Obviously when he's in...
Defense against the dark arts. Yes.
Right, yeah. I mean, and when he's in Lupin form and not werewolf form. Like, he's more rational. He's more level-headed. Like, Sirius Black, we still don't know a lot about other than, his past. And then now he's kind of just this emotional ball of rage. But I was having a hard time believing that they were about to just straight up kill Peter Pettigrew. Like,
Well,
I know he killed a lot of people, and he killed the Potters, right?
yeah.
And he's a servant of Lord Voldemort.
Yeah, yeah. That I mean, I think part of it is like he used to be their friend as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hung out with them in school, and they thought he was dead, and now he's been hiding for 12 years, letting everybody else think that Sirius was the bad guy, and yeah, and then essentially, like you said, he's a servant of Lord Voldemort. So learning all of this in a short amount of time, I think anyone's feelings could get the best of them.
Yeah, but I just murdering somebody, like it seems just a little bit too far of a stretch for them to just straight up kill somebody. Like, regardless of whether or not he deserved it or not, the morality issue, I'm having a hard time accepting. Maybe Sirius Black. Okay, like Sirius Black, like definitely wanted to kill him. He wanted to kill him before it even, turned into Peter when he was just Scabber still. Like he was ready to squash him. But yeah. I just, as mad and upset as Lupin could possibly get, I still don't fully believe that they were capable of just killing him on the spot. Like, it seems a little below what they are as people and wizards.
Sure.
So I get the point. I get of like the storytelling aspect, like how intense it was, and it gave Harry the chance to kind of step up and defend his father's honor and be like, no, my father wouldn't want this. This is not right. I need to do the right
Harry
thing.
Once again showing why he's in Gryffindor.
Right. Like it allowed him to emerge as the mature one to make the right decision from a morality standpoint, to try to honor his dead parents, in a way that some kids especially probably wouldn't be able to do emotionally. So I understand that back and forth kind of had to happen to advance the character of Harry and what we know of him, and probably going forward, like the decisions he may have to make. But it didn't feel right to have Lupin, who has continuously from the beginning been very grounded, very reasonable, very mellow, very understanding, and not violent.
Well, I
seconds
think,
from killing somebody.
I think this is what probably would have happened is Lupin probably would have stood there and watched. Well,
but they both had their wands out.
Yeah, but I think if anything, Lupin would be the guy holding him down. Sure,
and that might have been more believable if it was written like Lupin has tied him up now, and like
because like you said last week, Sirius wanted to commit the murder that he was in prison for.
Right.
Like Sirius is all on board, and it's only going to take one of them to kill him.
Yeah.
And so I think more than anything, he was pointing his wand at him and say, "Yeah, you're not going anywhere."
Yeah. Like the Lupin character to me would have been almost guarding the kids, like trying to take them away so that Sirius could do the act without them having to watch it happen. Like this is about to go down. Like you probably don't need to watch this. Like let's get Snape and let's move out while Sirius finishes it. Like, but it was written as in like him and Black both had their wands out, and they were both being super aggressive and were ready to just destroy this guy. And it didn't feel right that this is the Lupin character that we've known this entire book to get to this point. But maybe some of that was like the animal instincts that are inside of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a werewolf.
Yeah. It felt weird. But then with Harry kind of stepping up to the plate and all that, it calmed me down a little bit. But I was a little bit angry that Lupin was just about to kill this guy. Instead of like offering him up to the Dementors to go off to Azkaban and serve the sentence that he so rightfully deserves. Like It's almost seemed like a cop out where Lupin doesn't seem to feed off of his emotions like Black definitely would at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point he was so glad to have Sirius back as a friend, and knowing that he was innocent,
Right.
that he was gonna let him do whatever he wanted. That's how I see it. Like,
Yeah.
he not so much that he wanted to do it himself, but he was gonna back Sirius in whatever he wanted to do.
Sure.
So if Sirius was saying, "Hey, we're gonna kill this guy," he's like, "Okay, sure, you can kill this guy, and I'll do whatever I need to do to help you do that." But
yeah, and that makes sense. And I wish I would have read it like that. I'm curious what the audience thinks. Like, how did you guys read it? Did you read it as in Lupin was being equally aggressive as Black and was ready to kill him along with Black, or did you read it as he's going to aid and help Black out with whatever he needs to make sure the job gets done, but not be as aggressive as I made it seem? I want to know what people think, how they interpreted it. Yeah. Because there might be different opinions out there, or maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe this was an emotional chapter, Matt. These two chapters were super emotional for many different reasons. So
I know.
Yeah.
I like going into this podcast. I didn't realize how much of an emotional journey it would be for you. But after getting through the first couple chapters and through the first few scenarios, I'm starting to pinpoint more and more of these places. I'm like, yeah, this is going to make for a good podcast.
Right.
You are going to react a lot.
Well, and here's the other thing to think about. Like, everybody else has seen the movie, so how it's visually portrayed in the film might lead some credence to how people read it. You know, like,
it's true, but I think the majority of us probably read it first. Now, whether or not we can remember back to that first time we read it before we saw the film, yeah,
how much of that memory is overwritten by the movies? You know?
Yeah, because nowadays, like, there are still a few things that when I picture them in my head when I'm reading through the book, they look one way, but there are a lot of things that, since I've seen the movie so many times now, like when I'm reading it and we're walking through the castle, it's like, oh, what am I picturing? I'm picturing what I saw in the movie.
Yeah.
Not what was in my head the first time I read it.
Right. So
now, of course, things like the Death Day party, that's still all in my head.
For now, Matt.
Yep.
Till we write that spin-off book. So that
just for the record.
Yeah.
Just for the record, because I found it. Talking about Sirius as the dog watching Harry. Back in chapter 9, Grim Defeat, he turned Harry. He turned, intending to head back toward the middle of the field, but at that moment, another flash of lightning illuminated the stands, and Harry saw something that distracted him completely: the silhouette of an enormous, shaggy black dog, clearly imprinted against the sky, motionless in the topmost empty row of seats.
Okay, so it was in the stands.
Yeah.
Okay. In my head, every time we've seen him, he's just kind of been like on the perimeter of the forest, like just kind of lurking in the shadows.
But you see, I think part of it is like it was a very dark, stormy game,
right?
And so I think he felt he could sneak out a little bit farther, than he probably normally would.
Yeah. Lee Jordan's a calling.
Everybody's answering.
Okay, so at this point, I had totally forgotten Snape was still around, still unconscious.
Yeah, as most people do, especially when you're just reading, because all of a sudden he's gone for a chapter or half a chapter or whatever, and it's he's just been knocked out this whole time.
It started out with him like yelling and being just so mean, and then like everything else kind of unfolded, and he's just been,
because there were big revelations. We twisted our story around. It's like all of a sudden Sirius is innocent, and it's like, oh, that does make sense.
But then it's like, well, too bad Snape wasn't around for this, because that would have been a doozy.
Well, they were trying to explain it to him. He didn't want to listen.
No, he didn't. Okay, so they're heading out. They're gonna go back to the castle. They're gonna make everything right, essentially. But then something happened right at the end of the chapter, Matt.
Yeah.
That confused me a little bit. And I'm curious as to where this is going. Because
What's that?
it was a very intentional line that was added to this book. It was slipped in there very casually. Overlooked by many, I'm sure, because of how quickly it came and went and no further explanation as to anything. But Lupin picked up the invisibility cloak and put it in his pocket.
It's true.
Very curious. Very curious.
Well, he has been in the habit of confiscating Harry's magical items.
Mm-hmm. I know. He's a little
Which-
niffler is what he is.
Which bothers me a little bit way back in the beginning of this chapter when we find out how Snape found them in the first place.
Oh, yeah, the map was just laying out on the desk.
Yeah, like, Lupin, I know you were in a rush, but you of all people should have known to wipe the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I don't
But
know
yeah.
if this was just explained, like, it. Why didn't Harry grab it? Like, why didn't he pick it up and give it back to Harry? Like, is he confiscating it? Is he taking it for other reasons? I'm also concerned with it being in his pocket now because, as we're about to find out, like, I don't know if he still has pockets at this point. So there's a lot of whole thing. Like, it was odd that it was brought up, other than just to kind of clean up any loose ends that people may be wondering about. But I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
So we don't think it's still sitting off in the shack, which is a couple hours trek from Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Unlike when Harry left it in one of the tunnels last time, it was still in Hogwarts.
Right.
So they could go. Hermione could run and get it quickly.
But like,
or it was up in the tower.
Harry could have easily just carried it though. Like, they could have easily just had Harry pick it up and walk out. Like, he wasn't doing anything. I mean, he was help supporting Ron, but, you know, I don't know. It was just this weird little thing where it just perked my ears up just a little bit. Like, huh, okay, I see what you did there.
Doesn't it feel better that one of the teachers picks it up? Rather, well, I mean, I guess the trio all knew about the cloak.
Mm-hmm.
And Snape now knew about the cloak. Lupin, it's hard to say if he knew about the cloak.
Right.
Well, no, he probably knew that James had a cloak.
Yeah.
But does he know that Harry had the cloak previously?
Don't know. Sirius Black knows that they did.
Yeah.
Right?
Or, wait, why would Sirius know?
Wasn't he? No. That was Crookshanks chasing the rat, not the dog chasing the cat.
Yeah.
There's so many animals, Matt. I'm so confused.
Yep.
Never mind. I don't know. I just, again, it may mean absolutely nothing, but it was a little detail that I picked up on that.
Sure.
I'm gonna store in my back pocket, and
like I said, it's JK. You never know.
no, I don't trust anything, Matt. So that led into chapter 20.
It's true.
The Dementor's Kiss. It's not a good name of a chapter.
No, not when you know what a Dementor's kiss is. I mean, or even just a Dementor. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The visual of Snape being walked out.
Yep.
I hope this is adequately portrayed in the film, because this might be the most hilarious thing ever.
I just love the fact that his head keeps hitting the ceiling and like they notice it but don't stop doing it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Black's like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, the spell that they used to move him sounded very creepy, dark and creepy. I don't know Latin, but like my rough interpretation of it is like like a puppet corpse or something like that, like some sort of like reanimating a corpse type of thing.
It's, I mean, I think, yeah, corpus or whatever is just like body, I think. So
Yeah,
it's like mobilizing a body.
right. It sounded like,
Yeah, it definitely doesn't sound good.
no.
I mean, it very often, I would imagine, in the wizarding world might be used to move dead bodies,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
in this case, yeah, he's just knocked out, but still.
Like his chin just slamming against his chest, and just like the whole visual just sounded hilarious. But
Yep.
poor Snape? Question mark? I'm not sure. Do I feel bad about this? I don't know how to feel. I'm torn.
Right now, not so much.
He had
Snape
a-
was being a jerk.
He had it coming, but like maybe he paid his dues already. I don't know. Then the big thing happened, Matt. The biggest thing to happen of these two chapters.
Yeah.
The single greatest moment of these two chapters of this week's reading.
What's that?
Harry has the opportunity to no longer live with the awful, awful Dursleys.
It's true.
Holy tamale, man. It was... What a monumentous occasion this is.
Yeah. It's essentially what Harry's been waiting for his entire life.
Right. Like, he knows, like, when he's 18, he's gone. He's out. Like, he'll never
Sure.
have to see the Dursleys again. But now, like, he has the opportunity, after everything that's happened, to possibly move out of the Dursleys and go live with his godfather, who has, what's the word I'm looking for? Not possession.
Guardianship?
Guardianship, there we go. Of Harry. Granted, he's a convicted killer who wasn't actually a killer, but still went to jail for it.
He's innocent, yeah.
Innocent, yes. But he was a convicted killer who, to
Yes,
this
he
point,
was
still hasn't been
convicted,
cleared. His
spent
name
time
hasn't
in
been
jail.
cleared. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Very few people, few more people know now than knew 20 minutes ago, but still.
Also, like, not even wanted in just the wizarding world. Like, he's a wanted felon, like, in the Muggle world as well. Like, that's how bad this was.
Only because they thought he was that bad, yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they would have done that with anybody that escaped Azkaban, I would think. They would have warned the Muggle world as well.
Probably. Depending on what the
think so.
crime was, maybe.
Well, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like, this was... Like, I love, like, Harry, like, already kind of stressing out about, like, how he was going to tell the Dursleys that, like, he was going to go live with this guy that they knew was a wanted felon. Like,
Yeah.
He was trying to plan it out, but, like, he was so excited. Like, he was so, like, just, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the best news I've ever had. Like, I can't have my parents back. I know that. I accept that. I have to go somewhere for the summer. I might as well go live with somebody who, was the best man at their wedding. Like,
Yeah, this is the only semblance of family he's had. I mean, well, it's not technically blood. Like, it's the only family he's ever known since his parents died.
Sirius Black treated him better in these 5 minutes as they're walking down this hallway than the Dursleys had the entire, like, 13 years of his life.
Which is funny because Sirius doesn't even understand that.
No.
Like, Sirius doesn't know what Harry's been through these past 12, 13 years.
He's very sheepish about it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he's not sure if he should ask him, and then when he does, and Harry gives him, like, that surprised response, and he takes that as like a negative thing. It's like, oh, shoot, I'm sorry, I shouldn't ask you. I'm like, no, you just don't understand how much he's been wanting this. Like, you don't know how to read a kid. You've never been a parent before. You have a lot of learning to do too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, he probably knows that, but he has no idea what Harry's been up to, like, the last 13 years of his life. And yeah, just I was so happy. Like, there's, like, this overwhelming joy that was happening. Everything seems to be wrapping up nicely here.
Sure.
It's just, it feels good. It feels good to finally have a conclusion to this book. Everybody's like doing good. Then Mother Nature happened, Matt.
It's true.
Just clouds just kind of part ways, and big old bright shining moon is up in the sky.
Yeah. You kind of have to figure something's going on when at the beginning of the previous chapter, we also learned that Lupin forgot to take his potion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Snape had a goblet of it, right?
Yeah, Snape was bringing it to him in his office, but Lupin had disappeared, and that's when he saw the map, and it's like, yeah, that can't be good.
Yeah. Quickly, Hermione picks up on what's about to happen. I think everybody at this point reading was probably like, oh boy, it's werewolf time. Like, they don't talk about a bright shining moon up in the sky very often, especially when there is a known werewolf abound without, leading into a werewolf transformation. It got scary real quick, Matt. It happened in a flash. Like, I don't know much about werewolves, but this is a pretty quick transformation.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't take too long.
Yeah. Thankfully, Sirius Black was able to transform himself, and there was a battle of the canines. Ferocious. It was violent. It was... unfortunately, Lupin does lose all ability to control his animal instincts when he's a werewolf, so...
Yeah, without the potion.
Without the potion, right. Like, he's ready to just kill anything that moves.
Yeah, this is essentially what happened to him when he was at school.
Yeah.
This is what would happen every month, and that's why Sirius became this dog in the first place.
Right. So, we got a nice little battle. This is one thing I'm excited to see on screen, see how this plays out. Because I'm very curious what this dog looks like.
Yeah.
And I want to see what the werewolf looks like. Like, I'm fascinated by how this is going to play out. And then, like, just more chaos. Peter takes off. He turns back into a rat and he scampers away, like a Scabbers would do. That worries me right off the bat. Because we all know he's not any good. He's a bad dude. Who will do anything for his own survival. So, yeah.
Right about this time, did any words from a previous chapter get stuck in your head?
I don't think so. Maybe?
No?
What do you have?
You remember a weird voice we got from Professor Trelawney?
I remember that. I don't remember what she said.
Yeah?
I honestly was not thinking about Professor Trelawney at all in these two chapters. She was the first thing from my mind.
Shoot, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to find it.
Ooh. Calling it out and you weren't even ready for it, Matt.
Yep. Because I was not thinking about this.
She was channeling, like, somebody else. She said something to Harry that kind of spooked him.
Yeah, do you remember what she said?
I don't remember the words, no.
All right, I'm almost there.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, up until now, I have completely forgotten about Trelawney. Like, I feel like her story with McGonagall, there's still a lot to play out. So, like, I wasn't really looking for any sort of, like, resolution with her and her craziness in this book, but now that you mention it. With
all the time that you have to think and all the theories you've been putting together, I'm a little surprised you didn't try to put this one together.
She's a whack job, man.
But listen to this now.
You can't predict crazy, Matt.
The Dark Lord lies alone and friendless, abandoned by his followers. His servant has been chained these 12 years. Tonight before midnight, the servant will break free and set out to rejoin his master. The Dark Lord will rise again with his servant's aid, greater and more terrible than he was. Tonight before midnight, the servant will set out to rejoin his master.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
And do you remember what I was saying last week about how, like, these past 3 weeks of readings, these past, like, 6 chapters, have all been taking place in one night, one thing right after the other?
Right.
We're not jumping around months here. This is all in the same night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we should expect to see... Now, granted, you have to take Trelawney with a grain of salt here. But if we are to believe that crazy prediction of hers, which kind of has already happened, except for the servant rejoining his master and them coming back at full force type of thing, like, we should probably expect to see Peter later on in the story.
It's possible.
When Lord Voldemort returns. Because we know he's going to.
That's what it makes sound like, yeah.
Yeah. And see, like, when she said that, like, I think the intention was to still portray Sirius Black as, like, even worse, you know? Like it being chained up for 12 years, like, Black has been chained up for 12 years. Like, everything, all signs pointing to Sirius Black being pretty bad dude. Even in her little crystal ball. So it makes me wonder, like, how much she sees or how much, like, vagueness she sees. Like, does she just get the vague details and then, you know, announce them, or?
Well, that's what we've been saying all along.
Yeah.
Like, how much does she see? Did she know Hermione was going to storm out of her classroom? Did she know Neville was going to break the stuff? Or did she just know someone was going to do this, or Neville was going to do something, or what did she know?
Right. Or does she like to be mysterious and she sees all of it in great detail, but she speaks in vagueness to keep people guessing? I don't know.
Don't know.
There's more to learn about Professor Trelawney. So then, okay, so we had the canine battle. Everything's just going awry here. And then that's when things got real interesting. The Dementors. They're ready for action. They've been waiting for this for an entire school year.
Yeah, they've been here all year with one job.
Yeah.
To find Sirius Black.
Right.
And Sirius Black is now finally out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go.
And I had this moment where, like, he's clear, like he's innocent, and then I had to remind myself that, like, they haven't proven that to anybody except the people standing in this group.
Yeah, no one knows that, and on top of it, we've been told the Dementors are not to be messed with. They don't really care. Like, if they always said if the students gave them any inkling of a reason why they should, you know, they were doing something they shouldn't.
Yeah.
They're not going to hesitate to suck life out of them.
Yeah. They're not messing around. They're not going to listen to reason. They're not going to listen to excuses. They don't care. Like, they have one job. They're going to do it.
Yep. And like they said, they've been starving for a long time out here, basically.
Yeah. And hundreds of them are now coming from across the lake and from every other direction. Like, this is, I'm not fully confident of Sirius Black, how his health is after this chapter. I'm worried, Matt, about Harry Potter being able to go live with him after this, because I think the Dementors did a number on him, from what it seems.
Yeah?
Yeah, kind of feels like it. They were also... they didn't attack Hermione. I don't think. She just kind of collapsed, right? From the whole thing happening.
I mean, there were just so many of them there, and she hasn't really had that experience before.
Right.
like the closest she's come was the one on the train at
Yeah.
the beginning of the year, but that was just a very brief instance, and Harry was closest. So
Okay. So it wasn't like she was attacked and then she collapsed. It was more of just like she was just overwhelmed and it just got the best of her emotionally and she just kind of passed out type of thing.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
The force of, like I said, hundreds of them coming at you, and
Sure.
like that's a lot to take.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only reason I think Harry lasted longer is that he had his wand out and kind of knew what to do.
He was trying to do that damn Patronus spell over and over again. That poor kid. Like, he was
Yep.
trying so hard. Like, all he was trying to think about was, like, the happiest thoughts he could muster up. And he was overwhelmed. He was, getting engulfed by these things, and he was doing his best with this
Yep.
Patronus spell. And it didn't seem like it was enough.
Not so much. I mean, like the best we've seen him do is kind of hold his own against one
Mm-hmm.
in a controlled area and like I kind of assume, like, even though it is a boggart, like when they transform, like we've kind of decided like they are that thing. They
Right,
have the
right.
powers of that thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to say it was a fake, but it was only one.
Yeah. Right.
So like now all of a sudden hundreds coming at him. It's like, okay, I can repel one of you, but what about the other 999?
Right. Like, yeah, it's just it was too much. He definitely went to he jumped from defense 101 to advanced training in a split second. He did his best. Some things were happening out of his wand, but nothing nearly enough to do what he needed to do.
Yeah. Couldn't stop all of them.
It looked like the end for old Harry Potter.
Yep.
And then they went away. They
Yeah.
took off. They headed out.
Yeah. The
There
warmth
was-
started to return.
There was a figure. He saw somebody,
Yes.
something or someone
Yes.
there. And that's pretty much
Yes.
where the chapter ends.
Pretty much.
But it's just something happened to drive them away. Who was it, Matt? Who or what was it?
We'll just have to wait and see.
Was it the spirit of his father? Was it Dumbledore? Was it Lupin turning out of his werewolf form back into normal Lupin? I don't know. Matt.
Sounds like a good Muggle theory.
I feel like it's probably Dumbledore. Like, I feel like it's been a while since we had Dumbledore doing something. But
He always shows up at the right time.
always does. Always does. But maybe it's Hagrid? I don't know. There wasn't enough to go on. That's all I know.
Sure.
So that's the end of chapter 20, Matt.
That's the end. Another short chapter. Action-packed, but short.
2 last chapters to finish this book.
Almost there.
Do you know how hard it was not to just finish? Just be done with it.
Well, thanks to Val, I have some idea.
It was excruciating, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I want to read these chapters again.
Yeah, they were good. Do you want to do the Muggle poll?
I think now's probably a good time.
Okay.
So this week, I knew you were fixated on Crookshanks,
Mm-hmm.
so it felt good. So I wanted to know, throughout like this past, I just call it like 24 hours in this book.
Yeah.
Do you appreciate Crookshanks more, less, or the same as you did before the events of these past 24 hours?
You know where I stand, Matt.
Do I?
Yeah. I'm just frustrated.
Fair enough. Option D.
Like, I don't know if I necessarily appreciate him. He's still Crookshanks to me. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that because I'm just upset about the whole thing. But what do the people say?
Well, the people went with me. Got 53% saying more than they appreciate him more now. We had 34% the same and 13% less, which confuses me a little bit. But I knew I had to have the option in there.
Right.
I have to have the opposite option in there, of course. But
yeah,
I would be curious to know why people appreciate him less afterwards.
Maybe because they are displeased with the fact that he's just a cat also.
That could be. That could be.
And nobody wants to appreciate a cat that much.
Fair enough.
If it was a character, it'd be like, yeah, of course we appreciate that character, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I just after seeing him, the way he interacts with Sirius,
sure,
in particular, like the way he not only like helped him, tried to capture Peter, and then like tries to protect Sirius, basically. Like he was sitting on top of his heart when they were going to kill him.
Right.
Like it's like, no, you're not going to do that, or you're going to have to kill me first.
Yeah. The real question is, how much does Ron appreciate him now?
It's true.
Like, we know Hermione's in love with him. Harry's indifferent, but like Ron has hated him the entire book. So like, where does he stand with Crookshanks going forward?
Yeah. Well, I think it's also where does Ron stand with his rat?
Not pleased with his rat, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Also, he needs a new pet, so can't wait to go pet shopping with Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Could be.
Might be. Yeah, so thank you everybody that participated in the Muggle poll. As always, it's a lot of fun seeing what you guys think out there about the stuff that we read and break down here at Tales from Godric's Hollow. Matt, how about some emails? Do we have some emails this week?
Well, to be perfectly honest, we have more emails than ever before.
Holy cow. Did I ask for emails last week for a reason?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But the thing is, I can't read half of them.
Oh, no! Because of
their contents.
Because of stuff I don't know yet?
Yeah. So, like, the people knew going in that I wouldn't be able to read these emails. Like, many of them even mentioned it.
Right.
But
they just had to get it out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw this out there. You may have said some things last week that people really reacted to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Now I have to go back and listen. Good or bad?
I'm not giving you anything.
Oh, you're killing me, Matt.
But yeah, it's been an interesting week.
Oh boy. Okay.
In any case, I do have some emails that I can read.
Okay. I'm sorry for making your job more difficult than it needs to be.
No, it's been exciting.
Okay.
Anyway,
the worst part about this is like you have all this excitement going on behind the scenes that I know nothing about. I'm over here doodling a little map and recording crazy theories just on my own, and you're having the time of your life just behind my back, and I have no ideas.
I can tell you the audience is loving the show, and they're loving you, and just don't worry about it too much. But yeah, we are having a blast over here.
I feel like there's a Death Day celebration going on, and somehow I didn't get the invite. So
fair enough. Emails. We'll start off with a short one, quick from I mentioned it before, from Val. She says, "You are killing me. Just let us finish the last 2 chapters tonight so we can be done." That was her urgent email.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not going to reply to that. in an email form. I'll reply to it on the show, sure. But yeah, Val, no, that's why we are not letting you finish it tonight, because these chapters are just so good. We are going to milk it for all it's worth.
You just want to get another Muggle theories out of me, that don't you?
Hey, don't make me slow it down to one chapter a week.
I think the audience might revolt against us at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry, Val.
One more week. Don't worry. We are almost there. Almost there. And it's
you know what
so
she's
good.
looking forward to the most? Like, honestly, like,
what's that?
She wants to finish the book. She wants to finish the last 2 chapters. Definitely.
She wants to watch the movie.
The moment that final page is done, that movie is pushing play on that. So
sure,
that's what she's waiting for.
She has been a big proponent of the movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
She's watched it twice behind my back.
Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, since we started reading this book, she's already watched it twice. So
yeah. I try to put off watching them until I'm done with the book.
Yeah.
So far, so good. But yeah. Let's see. Another email from Matthew.
Hi, Matthew.
It says, Dear Josh and Matt, I didn't write in last week as I assumed after last week's crazy reveals that everyone would have been writing in to discuss the name game that JK has sneakily been playing right in front of our noses for some time now. However, only one of the character name twists was discussed, that being Remus Lupin. Josh, I do agree that Latin helps, although Greek and just plain English also factor into JK's names. The most obvious name twist for me was Sirius Black.
Don't
you
know
where
it's
going?
scramble. If you have to scramble his letters into something else, I'm going to be really upset.
No.
Okay.
Sirius, being Greek in origin for bright or glowing, is also the name for the brightest star in the nighttime sky. The star, which is colloquially known as the Dog Star, is part of the Canis Major constellation.
Of course it is.
With Canis being the Latin name for dog. Thanks for that one, JK.
So I need to brush up on my astronomy, is what you're saying.
Well,
I'm just going back to college. We're going to pause the podcast, Matt. We're going to take about a year off. I'm going to go take all Latin and astronomy and all this kind of stuff. And then we're going to come back, start book 4, and I'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Okay.
I just enjoy that his name is essentially Dog Black.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, you are a black dog.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know?
Black, dog.
Also, if you didn't know the star was named Sirius, are you familiar with Sirius satellite radio?
Yeah.
Which is also spelled the same?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember? I think they've gotten rid of it kind of now, but in the early days, what their logo was?
Nope, not a clue.
Yeah, it was a dog.
That's right. Yeah.
And where and in the place of where his eye should be, there was a star. But yeah.
JK.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Anyway,
touche.
The next name is more of a play on English words, and I feel is more apparent when spoken. The real name of the wizard, also known as Scabbers, is Peter Pettigrew. The last name, when pronounced syllabic, with syllables, there we go, is Pettigrew. Play on words seems so obvious now.
Yeah.
He was a pet, and then he grew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Pet grew.
Sure.
With this enlightenment, I can now see Josh's theories running in so many directions every time a character is introduced.
Thanks for that.
Just keep up the Muggle theories. They're great to listen to as we follow you down the rabbit hole. Thanks for making my Tuesday and Wednesday commutes much more enjoyable.
You're very welcome. Also, the whole Peter Pettigrew thing, like, that was a name that I had completely forgotten, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, that wouldn't have done me any good. It wasn't like Sirius Black, where we heard, like, every chapter was a Sirius Black reference.
Yes.
Peter Pettigrew wasn't being referenced on a regular in this book, so, you know, once we got down to the brass tacks of it all, it kind of fell into place, but I didn't have a lot of time to ruminate on the name of Pettigrew.
Sure.
I wouldn't have got that. I'm not, you know, trying to make excuses, but
I mean, the English ones, like, they're there, but they're sometimes not. Like, I mean, even just the spell to more or less get rid of a boggart.
Mm-hmm.
You remember what that is?
Nope. Matt, I have a hard time remembering the spells.
Well, this one should be easy. It's ridiculous.
Right. Okay.
Which is what you're doing, is you're making the boggart look ridiculous.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Next email from Harry.
Hi, Harry.
Says, hey, Matt and Josh, I tried to keep this as short as possible. Sorry it's so long for the second week in a row. Thoughts from last week's episode. So last week, I wrote in about how J.K. was influenced by Latin to name Lupin among other spells, and I could kick myself for forgetting to mention Sirius. Yeah. So now this week we have two people writing in about this. Mm-hmm. So we just covered this, but I'll read it anyway.
Sure.
It says, hold on to your sorting hat for this one, Josh. The name Sirius should be pretty familiar to anyone who knows constellations. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky and makes up the star constellation Canis Major, also known as Greater Dog. Sirius is commonly known as the Dog Star for its place in the constellation. So there you have it. Once again, JK was tipping us off from the beginning that Sirius was the dog. A while back, Alex wrote in about a typo in his book where it said Snap instead of Snape. Just wanted to share that my copy also had the same typo. Huh. So there you go.
Good enough.
On to thoughts from this week's reading. Josh, I'm beginning to call into question Matt's very character.
Me too. I have since episode 1.
How can Snape be his favorite character after all he's done throughout these books?
Right?
I forgot how downright evil he was to Hermione in the Shrieking Shack in these chapters, and how he allowed his childhood grudge to blind him so much.
Yes.
I always thought Matt was just a friendly, mild-mannered Wisconsinian.
Wisconsinite.
For record, yeah, we're Wisconsinites. But given his love for such an evil character, I don't know if we can trust him. Seems like a very Slytherin thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Harry.
Yep. I couldn't agree more, Harry.
They really should have come up with a better system of who's going to take Pettigrew back to the castle. Even if they couldn't use Sirius because he was maintaining his spell to transport Snape, they had two more able-bodied wizards, Harry and Hermione, that were in much better physical shape to secure Pettigrew than Ron. Just poor planning all around, and now I have the ominous words of Professor Trelawney ringing in my head. And finally it says, another cliffhanger ending. Again, I think Matt is really a Slytherin.
Show your true colors, Matt. People are catching on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, no one believes that Ravenclaw's a house, obviously. So, the power of deduction clearly.
Fair enough. I guess so. Next up, we have an email from Zach.
Hi, Zach.
He says, I meant to write in earlier, the day the podcast came out, but you know how that happens. This is going to be a mess of thoughts, but I hope it makes some sense. You see me...
My life is a mess of thoughts, Zach, so...
You fit right in. You've seen me commenting on Mugglepoles the last few weeks. Very true. And part of this is in response to that. Yes, I was one of those crazy hardcore fans who went to the Wizarding World in Orlando the first day. And we waited through a 2-hour wait/delay to get the ride fixed. We spent most of it sitting on the floor in the room that has the screen or projector of the trio talking about something setting up the ride. I think it's a fun thing to watch normally, but when you see it more than a dozen times in a row, it starts to get a little grating. Yeah. I also haven't seen that ride in its entirety because even though I've been on it more than once, there are spiders.
Yeah.
And I always have my eyes closed then.
Yeah, Zach, you know what's up.
I was also the guy who was basically giving the Joshes at the park an unofficial tour through the line in the castle. It's probably good for you that Josh wasn't that inquisitive. If he was, he might have said too much and not have anything left for the podcast. Also very true. Mm-hmm.
I also didn't care that much the first time through.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I could have explained things, but yeah, you would have given me
the second time, though, I had tons of questions, but Val was not answering any of them, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing. Thank you for the podcast. This is one of the few for me that rises to the level of stop what you're listening to and listen to this right away.
Oh.
In fact, I usually listen through it twice, once on Tuesday morning and once over the weekend. What can I say? I like what you do.
Thank you, Zach. That means a lot.
Yeah, that's impressive. If you make it through this podcast twice in a week.
I'm sorry. You deserve an award for that. Listening to me ramble on that much.
Yeah. Let's see. And we have to skip all these emails.
God, you guys are the worst. You know better. Each and every one of you, I'm wagging my finger at you because you know better. You're putting Matt through torture.
I think our last one then comes from the one and only Atari Alex.
Well, at least he followed the rules.
Oh, don't worry. He tends to include sections I can't read, but he just labels them for me.
Sure.
So I don't have, or like puts them in a PS afterwards. It's like,
right.
Yeah. Which he did this time, actually. In any case, dear Josh and Matt, well, here we are at the penultimate reading for this book. There have certainly been ups and downs, but if Josh's mental state is any indication, I'd say this podcast has an interesting future in store. If Josh isn't committed to a mental hospital first, that is. To address a couple of points from last week, the phrase "as the crow flies" is certainly a legitimate idiom, though I don't think I've ever used it in conversation myself. Secondly, the whole "because since" debacle, I realized upon further reflection that I should have set off the "since these chapters were all plot" phrase with commas. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to call him out again.
Don't do it, Matt. Don't do it. This is a war of attrition between you two.
Well, he typed an actual word, but it's the wrong word, so it's like spell check didn't catch it either.
Oh boy. Okay.
Because I should have set off the "since these chapters were all plot" phrase with commas for it to be grammatically correct and for the sentence to flow better. Even I am capable of making mistakes.
2 M's, Alex. 2 M's.
Yes.
Double M.
This week's chapters answered many of the lingering questions from the previous chapter,
But
yet
enough.
also introduced a new set of questions.
Yes.
For example, why can Sirius turn himself into a dog at will, but Peter appears to need a wand in order to undergo his transformation?
Fascinating. Maybe because Sirius has had practice and Peter has not in 12 years.
I think we go back to their days in school.
Right.
Peter was always the inferior wizard.
Right.
He was never as good as the rest of them.
He wanted to be, but he wasn't.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense just to show off their ability that Sirius can do it without, and Peter still requires it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And why is Harry so willing to live with a person whom he believed was responsible for the death of his parents approximately 30 minutes prior?
Because they're better than the Dursleys.
I know the Dursleys are bad, but he hardly knows Sirius, not to mention the fact that wherever Sirius used to live probably has either been sold or demolished in the 13 years since he was imprisoned.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, does he have a house just sitting around, like, waiting for him to come back to? That's curious.
Yeah, that would be a thing.
But, like, going to the Dursleys thing, though, okay. Sirius Black, even if Sirius Black was the one that killed his parents, like, he still cared and loved the Potters more even before he killed them or while he was killing them than the Dursleys had ever cared about them ever in the history of ever.
Okay, just to be clear, I think because you mentioned this once before, and Voldemort still killed Harry's parents.
Right.
We're clear on that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like Sirius feels guilty about it.
Right. But he didn't kill him.
Peter should feel guilty about it, but of course he doesn't because he seems evil right now.
Yes. Peter's the one that ratted him out and told him where they were going to be.
Ratted him out.
You like that?
Yeah.
But Peter's also the one that killed the 13 people, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He chopped off his own finger and made the explosion that killed 13 people.
Okay, so he was responsible for that, and he is responsible for telling Voldemort essentially where to find the Potters.
Yeah, he let the secret out.
Yeah, but essentially,
so
I mean,
find him.
Yeah, but I mean, Harry always blamed Sirius for my wording was a little strange. I can see where you're confused.
I just want to confirm we're on the same page.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So where Sirius is going to live, Dursley's bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Says it's been too long since I've gotten to be over analytical with this book. It feels good.
Yeah. Plus, we don't even know if Sirius Black is making it out of this book.
Yeah.
I'm questioning his health right now.
Like you said, it looks like he might not kicked it. So.
Yeah. We'll see. Is that all from Alex?
That is it from Alex.
Well, thank you, Alex. And thank you to everybody that wrote in, even if your email did not get read, for reasons you're probably already aware of. So
they are very aware.
Shame on you guys. Next week's it, Matt.
It is. Final 2 chapters.
I glanced over at my bookshelf the other day, and I saw the 4th book sitting there, Goblet of Fire.
Yes.
And it startled me how big it was. I had forgotten because I put it away. I didn't want to think about it. I was focusing on book 3.
Yeah, I remember when you first got it, you texted me right away. I'm like, look at this thing.
Yeah, huge. I had forgotten about that. And I saw it, and I'm like, oh, goodness gracious, we have so much to do. What a journey we're on, Matt.
Yes, we are.
What a journey we are on. I think that pretty much wraps up episode 31. But first, I want to introduce a new contest that we're going to do. Okay?
Yes.
Everybody out there listening, most of you, I would say, are probably reading along in some capacity. We have some things to give away, courtesy of somebody in the community, Sebastian. He has enlisted the help of another listener of the show, Jess. And before we started this thing, or right after we started, I can't remember the time frame here, but Jess sent us these homemade, handmade snitch bookmarks.
Yeah.
They're crocheted.
I think we were still in the first book when
we
got those.
Yeah, early on. They are crocheted. They're very nice. Definitely use mine as a bookmark for the book that is being read at the time. Yep. Anyway, Sebastian and Jess, they are going to be donating 3 of these, which I will tweet out a picture of, as giveaways for you guys, the listening audience. Now, how are we going to give these suckers away? Because they're really cool. They're really nice. They are bookmarks. They're intended to be used as bookmarks. If you want to use it for something else, if you want to practice actual Quidditch, go for it. I don't know how much practice you're going to get with one of these things, but hey, let your imagination run wild. But because they're a bookmark, and because this podcast is all about reading the books along with us in this book club form that we have set up, here is going to be the contest, Matt. We're going to give 3 of these suckers away. The way to enter, and I will make this a 2-week giveaway. Okay?
Okay. Yep.
So I want people to be prepared for the start of the next book. So in 2 weeks, we will pick winners. So 2 weeks from today, Monday, January 30th would be, what's the next, what's the calendar? What's the calendar say?
It's hard when we change months.
February 13th will be the cutoff. So
Sure.
that will be the night that we discuss the movie. We break down the movie.
Yep.
We will also announce the winners of this giveaway. So get your submissions in before then. What you have to do is you have to either tweet. You know what? No, it has to be tweet. Because I know not every single buddy out there has a Twitter account. Some of you just prefer email or whatever other social medias. But let's just do Twitter because I want this to be a community thing. I want you to tweet out a picture of your bookmark that you are using in the Harry Potter book that we are reading. So whatever bookmark is your bookmark, your go-to bookmark, I want you to show it off. I want you to be creative with it, how you display it, how the picture looks. Matt and I, we will decide the 3 winners. I don't know what basis we're going to be choosing them on. But I want you guys out there to have fun with it. Show us your bookmarks. Simple as that.
I like it.
You like that?
I do.
Okay. Should be fun.
Never thought about that, but like there's a ton of different bookmarks and styles of bookmarks out there, so it will be interesting to see what people are using.
Yeah. People use bills. People use, dollars. People want whatever they can. Some people have like legit serious bookmarks if they're really serious about reading. So I'm curious. I want to see what people's bookmarks are. So show us your bookmarks. Tweet at us at Tales from GH. As they come in, I'm going to retweet them. So I want everybody else to kind of see your bookmark. I want this to be a community thing. I want you guys to kind of interact and get to know each other a little bit. So this will be fun. And then in 2 weeks, we will decide 3 winners. You will get these cool snitch bookmarks. We will get those sent out to you, and you could start using them for goblet.
Singular,
No,
yes.
Singular. One goblet. A goblet. The goblet of fire. So start tweeting them, within the 2-week frame. So we'll send out reminders on Twitter and everything else to remind you guys to get on it. So
Remind you next week too.
absolutely. But have fun with it. Have fun. Be creative. Let's see what you guys got. Show us your bookmarks.
I like it.
All right. Perfect. With that being said, next week's the finale, chapters 21 and 22 of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. We'll be wrapping up the book. It's going to be a lot of fun. Absolutely cannot wait for that.
Me either.
You can find me personally on Twitter at The Noise with a Y. And again, be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Tales from GH. And that's where you want to send your submissions for your Show Us Your Bookmark contest. To send them our way. And we will make sure everybody else gets to check them out as well. And as Matt brought up in the beginning of the show, you can support us in what we're doing, which goes a long way to giving back to you guys for giveaways and that kind of cool stuff. You could do that over on Patreon, patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Matt, where can people find you at?
Oh, you can find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Or if you want to send us email, like so many of you have this week, you can do that at talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com. And speaking of giveaways, I want to throw this out there now too. We'll talk about it more next week, I'm sure.
Okay.
But one of our popular giveaway methods in the past has been through the iTunes review giveaway.
Yep.
And I can guarantee you we will be having more of those coming up soon.
Yes.
So if you want to get ahead of the game, I would suggest you go over to iTunes and give us a rating and review. Take a screenshot before you hit the submit button, preferably, and send that to me at talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com. And that will be your entry for all future contests of the iTunes review variety.
Right. That is your lifetime entry.
Yep. Right now, there's only we only have 26 reviews right now. So not only are your odds pretty good of winning, but I know there. Not to sound too big-headed or anything, but I know there's more than 26 people listening. So if you like what you hear, if you keep listening, I would greatly appreciate that review.
Yeah.
So show me what you got. If you have any questions about it, actually just put a video on our website, which we forget to mention a lot of times. But if you go to talesfromgodricshollow.com, down at the bottom of the page now, there's a short video showing you what I'm looking for in that review, where I want you to take the screenshot and all that. So,
right. And even if you don't listen to the podcast on iTunes, if you have other preferred methods of listening to the podcast, like, we benefit the most as a podcast from the iTunes reviews more than any of the others.
Yeah.
So take a few seconds, go onto iTunes.com and help us out there.
Exactly.
We're not forcing you to listen to the podcast through iTunes. You just need to leave a quick review and move about your day.
Yep.
Because we love
That's all we want.
Also, one last thing. It would be unfortunate for us if we did not mention the passing of actor John Hurt, who Harry Potter fans will know as Ollivander.
Yep.
From the first movie. So, when I heard, I didn't realize who he was in connection with Harry Potter, and I had to do a quick search of like, oh, he played Ollivander. So,
yeah, like he's had a lot of good roles over his lifetime. But,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for Harry Potter fans, Ollivander, yeah,
mm-hmm.
It felt very fitting, actually, that he did pass this weekend during the Harry Potter celebration.
I felt that same way too. Like,
yeah,
it felt weird to to spin it in a positive, but I'm like, you know what? Like, there's a lot of people there.
Yep.
That loved his, his role in that first film that cemented the love for a lot of people in this franchise. So,
and then how many people Ollivanders would have been packed this weekend.
Yeah.
Even more than usual.
Yeah. So, just had to mention that.
Yep.
So it'd be a shame on us if we didn't. Next week, episode 32 will be chapters 21 and 22. Prisoner of Azkaban, the finale. Dun dun dun. Who is Crookshanks? Where is Buckbeak? How is Hermione a time traveler? All this and more next week. Muggle out.
Mischief managed.